I'm going to start the recording. There we go. So just before we get started today, of course, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the most beautiful lands of the Lekwungen and Kusepsim families, where Royal Roads sits, and where I'm quite sad that we're not able to join together in person right now, but it is a place that ties all of us together, even though we're coming from different parts of the country, and perhaps they're from around the world. And I just feel so privileged to work and play and learn on those lands. And thank you for giving us this time today. So we're going, the whole idea of this series is to help build resilience and help you get through the months ahead. And as we sometimes go into winter, especially, we can find ourselves struggling with, some of us find ourselves struggling with mood, or with just feeling like overwhelmed with the amount of things that come up, or maybe there's some relationship stuff that gets a bit more challenging as Christmas and the holiday season rolls around. So today we're just going to set the groundwork of talking about resilience and what are some of the things we can do to help build our resilience so that when we're met by challenging times, we can maybe deal with it a little bit better and bounce back. So we're going to start with a grounding exercise that Frances is going to lead us through and do a little check-in. And then we're really going to dive into this idea of resilience and the 4 pillars of resilience, and a little exercise and questions to go through there, and then we'll do another grounding exercise that maybe you can take away with you to help you when you're starting to feel overwhelmed or stressed or anxious. And then we'll do a checkout and let you know how you can connect with us in case you want to ever want to sort of dive in more deeply or need some greater supports. So I'm going to turn my video off now, just because I know sometimes my connection gets a bit dodgy, and I find that if my connection's off, then I have a bit better luck of you not losing me. So I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to hand over to you, Frances.
Thank you. So everyone, it's Thursday, and how are we feeling today? There's a little, you're probably all very familiar with this tool up here. We can use the pencil. We can circle our emoji, how we are feeling. Quiet. Yeah. Anyone, you can also write it in the chat box. If you don't see a nice specific emotion, nervous, okay. And then the board was cleared.
That was me. I didn't have to clear mine. I'm so sorry.
That's goofy. Now I'm feeling goofy. Okay, cool. I'm nervous. I'm tired. Yep. It's an early morning session today for some people, or we're at the end of our day, depending where we are in the world. That's the neat thing about railroads. Funny. Yeah. Nice. And on a scale of 1 to 5, thinking about your life at the moment as students and just as humans, really, how anxious are you feeling during this time? And maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so much and 5 being very much so. Maybe we can write in the side panel where we're feeling. And hopefully, by the end, we'll check in again, and maybe we'll have taken you down by a point or 2. Some of our exercises and questions and whatnot. So some 4s, yeah, some anxiety out there. Yeah, 5 even. This is a stressful part of the year for students, especially. We have always this pandemic hanging over our heads, so it is a stressful time. 4.5, thanks, Ben. That's specific, I like it. Well, yeah, after we do some of the breathing exercises and we talk through some of the strategies, hopefully some of you might be feeling a point less, and that's how we scale for progress. So I will start off by leading you through some belly breathing. So if we all just sit with our eyes closed, Let's maybe get comfortable in our chairs, ground our feet. That's a nice way to really feel centered, and start paying attention to our breathing. Breathe naturally just for a couple of breaths through the nostrils without trying to control your breath. Start to be aware of the sensations as they enter and leave your nose. Put one hand on your belly now, and the other hand on your chest. And take a deep breath for a count of 4. And at the top of your breath, hold for a count of 3. And then we're going to exhale for a count of 4. So the hand on your chest should remain relatively still, but the hand on your belly will rise gently upwards and downwards. And I'm going to give you permission. We're all taught to suck in and keep those abdominals looking tight, but we're going to let them be really loose this time. So concentrating on your breath, forget everything else. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feeling the abdominal muscles back and forth. Trying to let your busy mind let go all the racing thoughts. Just noticing the breath. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. A couple more of those. Trying to resist the temptation. Think about those thoughts. Focusing on the sensation of your breath. Places in your body that might be holding tension. Try to breathe through, releasing some of the tension. Keep returning to the breath. Another couple of those. Hopefully that's making us feel a little calmer, a little bit more grounded. Lovely. Wonderful exercise to use at any time of the day when we're feeling activated, the mind is busy. Just giving yourself 5 minutes. Focus on the breath. Calms us right down. So bringing us back into a thoughtful mode, and a poll here we have for you with a question. What are you guys finding most challenging while you're studying, especially during COVID and winter is underway? So what is causing you a little bit of angst and stress right now? And again, you can take the pencil. Oh, someone is in all of the above perhaps. Yes. Finding time for wellness and self-care. Yeah, missing family. Mm-hmm. Hard to plan. Uncertainty. Yeah, the world has gone very sideways and it's very, very hard to plan these days. balancing school and work priorities. Yes, this is a common one especially for Royal Road students. Teamwork, yeah, thank you for adding that into the, yeah. Homesick, homeschooling, is that what's coming up for somebody? They're homeschooling their kids, yeah. This is a very challenging time for our parents. Yeah, yeah, or getting everybody's schoolwork done, not just your own. Too much screen time. Yeah, with everything online, our fun, our pleasure, our work, our school, everything is screen these days. How do we take a break from that? So hopefully we will be answering some of the strategies that will help you with some of these uncertainties and some of these for plan over winter. I'm going to pass back to Gemma now to lead us through the next section of slides. Lots of different stressors right now. Yeah.
Thanks, Frances, for just opening that opportunity up just to acknowledge some of the things that are playing a part in how I think many people are feeling right now. And I think part of the reason why I love gathering students together for these workshops is hopefully you start to realize that you're not alone. And it can feel really isolating, particularly this time, particularly studying online, but just know you're not alone. And we're here to support you, and reach out to other people, because if you're feeling the way you're feeling, then there's a good chance that they may be feeling similarly as well, and we can support each other. So I'm going to start to talk about building resilience. And on this slide here, for some reason, two of our little labels are missing from our green circle and our red circle. But when we're talking about resilience, we're really talking about this idea of being able to bounce back or recover from stressful situations. So part of the human experience is life sometimes throws us curveballs, and sometimes it throws really difficult things our way, and there's no real avoiding of misfortune. That's part of the human experience. But what we really would like to see people do is to build this sense of underlying resilience, so that when they are faced by something particularly stressful, they have a better chance of coming through it, well, at least unscathed, or perhaps healthier, or at least come through it, rather than getting stuck in it and feeling completely overwhelmed all the time. So you'll see here in this middle circle here, we've got this idea of the comfort zone. And the purple zone is a really important part of resilience. It's where we feel comfortable, we feel we can recharge, we can reset, and it doesn't really stretch us or grow us very much. And we spend a lot of, some people spend a lot of time in this zone, and some people spend very little time in this zone. And I'm drawing attention to it specifically because if you're finding you're spending very little time in your comfort zone, maybe this is the only thing you're going to take away from today's session. And if it is, I just really encourage you to think about where's your comfort zone when it comes to stress, and what can you do to bring yourself into that, even for a moment. Now, then we've got this green circle here. And this is where we consider a healthy stress. And usually when folks sign up to do a degree, what they're doing is they're taking themselves out of this comfort zone and they're stretching themselves out into this healthy stress zone. And this is where we generally consider it to be a place of learning, a place of growth, a place of feeling like we have like energy is usually a feeling that comes with this, a little bit of energized feelings. And this is a really great place to be if you're a student and you're trying to learn. Now, the trouble is sometimes we have just one too many things on our plate, or one too many things that just knock us sideways. And then we end up in this space out here, in this red space, which is where we feel overwhelmed. And when we talk to students, we hear things like they're just feeling overwhelmed. They don't know where to go. They don't know which way to turn. They can't think, they have brain fog, their processing just seems slower, they feel like they should be getting ideas or writing their papers more quickly or learning their ideas, but they just can't. and this is in this overwhelmed stratosphere. It's completely normal for all of us to flip into this sometimes. So not to worry if you enter into this realm, completely normal. But what I really want to encourage you to do is if you're finding yourself in this area for any extended period of time, really good sign that maybe it's I don't know, our bodies and our brains telling us that we need to do something a little bit differently to try to bring us back into this healthy stress zone or further back into the comfort zone. And sometimes we can do that by ourselves, and sometimes it can be a great time to book an appointment to talk to someone like Francis or myself to try to work on this together. So this is what we're talking about, resilience. How do we, if we find ourselves over here, how do we bring ourselves back into the healthy stress? So the good thing about resilience, and I know resilience is one of those words that's sort of bandied about a lot, but we actually know quite a bit about resilience. And what I want to share with you today is this idea of 4 pillars that we can focus on to help build a really strong foundation. And for most of us, if we reflect on each of these pillars, we might find that, yeah, maybe 3 of them we're doing okay on, but there's one that we have maybe neglected for a period of time. Or other times, like people sort of go, well, yeah, none of these. I haven't given any attention to any of these because I'm feeling so overwhelmed with life just in general, so there's no time. But and if that's the case, maybe it can be an invitation to just one of the pillars and maybe just do one small step to try to build that foundation. So as we go through these exercises, we're by no means wanting to tell you you have to do all of this all at once, but maybe just acknowledging if there's some little area that you could give a little bit of love and attention to help start to build that foundation. So we've got mindset, relationships, a sense of purpose, and health and energy. And I'm going to spend a few minutes chatting about each of these pillars as we kind of make our way through today. Starting with this idea of a growth mindset. I'm not sure if this is a familiar term to folks or if it's something completely new. It's totally great either way. But what we know is that most of us fall somewhere along this continuum of having a really fixed mindset, which means that we kind of feel like we're born the way we're born and we just are the way we are. To the other end of the spectrum would be more along a growth mindset, which means that you know, we can all grow and expand and learn and change over time. And most of us fall somewhere along that spectrum. Most people are not completely fixed in the mindset. Most people are not completely, fully, you know, growth mindset. But I think it's a really interesting thing to check in with ourselves about at different times. So you can see here in the middle, there's this gray set of things. And I'll just take a couple here to talk about this to explain the difference between the two. So you can see in the middle is skills. So if someone has a really fixed mindset, they're more likely to think that skills are things that you're born with. They're kind of innate and they're fixed. And sure, we might be able to, you know, do a little bit of practice, get better, but that's something you're born with. It's fixed in place. Someone with a growth mindset, you can see on the green side here, would believe that skills come from work, they come from practice, you can always improve, you can always grow. I think when students join into school, I think there's already a little bit of an indicator that perhaps you have a growth mindset. If you've chosen to come to school, you must have some part of you that believes that you can learn and grow and that you can build your skills. And certainly just about every part of school and academics is a skill set that you can learn and grow. It takes patience and time and practice. You can have a look down here at the interesting one partway down for feedback. Someone who has a really fixed mindset when they're given feedback will often take it as you know, kind of a personal affront or a personal criticism, and they tend to get really defensive and really hurt by it. And it's completely normal for that to be a little bit of a response to feedback. We're all human all the way, obviously, but it does tend to be more of a fixed mindset approach to feedback. But someone who has more of a growth mindset and is offered feedback will tend to see it as something to learn from and sort of as a gift to help them identify areas where they can improve or change. I'm pointing out feedback, especially as we're students. There's going to be a lot of times where you're going to get feedback either from instructors on assignments or exams or classmates and teamwork. And just taking a moment to reflect on how are you going to engage with the feedback? Are you going to default to a fixed mindset, or are you going to be open to this idea of a growth mindset? Yeah, and I guess just as another question that you can take away with yourselves, looking at skills, challenges, effort, feedback, and setbacks, is there one of those categories that maybe you could use a little bit of growth around in terms of seeing if you can create more of a growth mindset, or are you tending to be more fixed in your mindset around one of these things? And is there a way that you can take this away and grow and start to build your resilience through that? The other piece, I mean, there's so many things we could cover in mindset, but we really had to break it down into two. And we did the growth mindset. And the other piece we wanted to talk about today was this idea of happiness. And when I'm talking about happiness, I'm not talking about, happy days, kind of happiness. I'm really talking about sort of a deep contentedness and happiness. And in recent years, there's been a lot of scientific research around this, and I find that really interesting because I think the pursuit of happiness has been something that's been around since probably the dawning of time. But it is interesting, as I started to read more about it, I really found that this was actually a really lovely area to become more knowledgeable in, because I think there's a lot we can learn. You see on the slide here that some people are inherently more happy than others, and I think that about 50% of our happiness sort of level or quotient is predetermined, and maybe a genetic factor there. 10% is kind of depending on our circumstances. So if we have kind of a nicer life where things kind of going along well for us, 10% of our happiness is determined by that. But the really interesting piece for me is that 40% of our happiness is actually determined by intentional efforts. And the studies have shown that the people who make these intentional efforts repeatedly tend to be equally as happy as those people who we think are just happy all the time. So that's the really good news, is that if you're, well, I actually tend to be not a particularly happy person, so I have to be really intentional with my efforts. And the good news is that with practice and practice and practice, I'm pretty much a happy person most of the time. In fact, people who meet me now would probably describe it as that way. But it does take practice, and it does actually need some intentionality. So then you're like, okay, what do I need to do? So then they've done more studies, and they've looked at, okay, well, what do we know about happy people? And what are the things that generally happy, deeply contented people are doing that might be a little bit different to other people? And there's a whole list of things that they've done, and as I'm going through this, maybe you could share in the chat box if you're open to this, but just reflecting on what small thing might you do to give yourself a boost of happiness if you're feeling that you're feeling a bit more glum, or maybe the winter blues are coming on. It'd be a good time to think about this. But we know that happy people devote a lot of time to relationships with family and friends, and that's of course more difficult right now. But is there some way that you could give yourself a boost by reaching out to family and friends? Happy people express gratitude regularly, and our colleague Sarah Chattelborough is going to do some exercise around gratitude at the next session next week. So that can be a really beautiful way to boost our feelings of contentedness and lessen depression and increase our happiness. They're often really helpful to others. They try to live in the present moment, which I think can be very difficult, but just bringing it back to the here and now. And Frances's beautiful breathing exercise that she did before is helpful to that too. Tend to be deeply committed to lifelong goals or learning, which I think is wonderful that I'm speaking to a bunch of students. So hopefully there's some of that there already built into some of the folks on this session. And then the other thing is too, they're not immune to life stresses. So everybody experiences grief and tragedies and stressful situations and unexpected accidents. And that's across the board. That's not a determining factor about happiness, but there's lots of other things that you have some control over. So my question then is, what small thing can you do to give yourself a boost in happiness? And I see Karen, that's wonderful. Yes, reach out to someone you haven't spoken to for a while. I love that idea. Probably really helpful for you and for them. So it's a nice double bonus there. And Abigail calls your mom for chat. That feels better. That's wonderful, Abigail. I love that. I'm sure your mom really appreciates that too. Thanks for sharing. So mindset is one of the pillars of building resilience. And we have another pillar, which is the idea of relationships, which I think Karen and Abigail actually nicely let us segue into this, and the sense of belonging. And I think many of us know that this is an important part sort of intuitively, and certainly in the field of psychology, this is a really, this is a piece that we focus on quite often is, well, if people are feeling, emotionally unwell, we can look at the connections that maybe are there or not there, and are they healthy or non-existent, or maybe some tweaks or changes may need to happen in that. And I think that this has particularly been an important thing to reflect on this year with the pandemic, and all the fragments and disconnections that have happened. It's made it much more difficult, I think, in many ways to feel a sense of belonging. And so I think that we're offering this just as a way to just reflect and go, okay, is this something that maybe I haven't done for a while? Am I missing my people? Am I needing to reach out to them a little bit more? Or maybe I just, moved to a new city and don't know many people. So can you identify one person who you might like to be more connected to, and how you make that happen? So, when we're thinking about sense of connection and belongings, in terms of mental well-being, most of us don't need masses of people. We just need one or two people that we know have our back, and one or two people we know we can reach out to when we're feeling a little bit lost, and we feel like we just need some connection. And again, I think this is really important, not just for us as individuals, but remember, if we reach out to someone who might be feeling lonely, if we're feeling lonely, then there's a really good chance that we might actually be giving them the benefit of helping decrease their loneliness too. So you think about, what ways did you find to connect in this past week? And if you really struggled with that, what can you do? What can you commit to doing in the upcoming week to maybe make yourself feel a little more connected, to building on that sense of resilience? Francis, do you want to take over and talk about this next couple of slides? Francis?
Sorry, I said lots of great stuff there, but nobody heard me.
Thank
you so much. That was really, I think everything that you said was really spot on, and the clients that we're seeing now in the counseling department are really having to get creative about connecting to people during COVID. And just like you said, sometimes random acts of kindness and extending your comfort zone, it is in benefit of someone else, but it's releasing all these beautiful hormones and neurotransmitters that make us feel good. So like you said, it's not necessarily, it's for our benefit, but we're helping someone else who, there's a lot of lonely people out there right now. So there can be many ways to connect, and getting out of our comfort zones and just trying to to chat to somebody new might be saving their day too. So that's a great way to strategize and attack your day.
Actually, before you go on, just one other thing. I was thinking about the parents, if there's any parents on this session with us too. Sometimes I know it's difficult if you're working and studying and have kids of any age. You're already probably feeling quite stretched, but sometimes it can be as simple as doing half an hour less of schoolwork and half an hour more of really just full on attention with kids can be help us actually do better in our schoolwork later when we get back to it, and certainly help kids feel more calm and really loved and things like that. So don't be afraid to close your books if you have kids. Close them and really focus on your kids. So.
Nice. So one of the next building blocks is our future orientation, and that's quite difficult to have a sense of right now. But I'm sure many of you have started your degrees with a sense of purpose, and you have goals in your mind of why you are taking a degree, and they might attach to other future goals. And this sense of purpose really brings clarity to our lives. So it makes it possible for us to manage our time better, find motivation and momentum in our days. And it can be anything. It can be our sense of purpose can be big ideas you have, grand dreams you have, or they can be small and conscientious. Just for those of us that are struggling, just choosing something that's really attainable is fine as well. Some of us, it will be our family and our extended family, just living and doing what's needed to be done for our collective, our community. But it's helpful to pinpoint what that is, because when we think about it, or when we're struggling, when we're down, often it's what helps us bounce back. We can keep using it. We can pin it around our desk. We can have it as motivational vision boards, and it's particularly helpful for us to keep in mind as we have the winter blues. So, having something that's a little bit farther in the future to look forward to or to work towards helps us, when we're feeling a little stagnant or when the days are long and dark, we know that there's something, ahead of us that we can look forward to. So maybe in the chat box, if you feel safe and happy to do so, we can talk about, and you can think about what your sense of purpose is. When you look back on this time, what do you hope your older self will be seeing and doing? What do you hope to get this year, out of this time at Royal Roads?
I think that's a great question, Frances, and while we're giving people a chance to maybe reflect on that and maybe join in the chat box. And I know you and I have chatted about this before too, but one of my sense of purposes is my kids. Part of the reason why I've gotten up every day for the last 19 years is to sort of make a life better for them, and then as well for me with career, I just really love supporting students, and that gives me a sense of purpose to get up and go to work every day. And as I say that, it sounds so cliche in a way, but it really does give me a sense of purpose as to why I get up and what I do, even when it's difficult.
Oh, that's wonderful, and you're so good at what you do. It's what makes you take more education or spend more time learning about all the things that are important to you. So I feel the same way being a parent. Yep, my family is very important to me, that they're safe and happy and healthy. It's one of my sense of purpose. And I'm a student as well now too in my practicum. So I'm finishing my counseling degree, and that's been my sense of purpose for the past 2 or 3 years now. And yeah, I think some of my sense of purpose is about to change as I go into become a professional and change jobs. So I'm thinking about my sense of purpose again at this time. Yeah.
Love that Karen and Catherine have both joined in there in the chat box, Frances.
Yeah, a sense of doing my best to help the environment. Yeah, that's a nice thing to be always grounded and centered about, isn't it? And there's lots of you doing environmental degrees at Royal Roads as well too. So it's definitely top of mind for many. I find it hard because I feel like I have less capacity for extras, but I try to stay connected to ideas bigger day. Yeah, it is hard. There's less capacity for sure when we take on our scholastic activities, and it's hard sometimes that we are blinded by what's in front of us, and our sense of purpose gets a little muddled. Yeah, well, students often think their sense of purpose is really driven by their scholastic work at the time, but I offer you the chance in the next couple of days to think about the greater sense of purpose or smaller ones that might help you as we go through the next few months. So the next foundation block of resilience is our health and energy. So Gemma likes to call these the mom factors. So we all know what our moms are trying to do for us, our parents are trying to do for us, get us to sleep a good 8 hours. They like to feed us, and they like to make sure that we're doing enough exercise. So Emma can probably chime in because she's done a little bit more research on sleep. But I do know that getting a good night's sleep actually affects our productivity by up to 30%. So we can improve just by getting what's required, and that will be dependent on everybody's personal needs. But that sleep factor is enormous for all of us as we, it gives us the chance to really kind of sweep out the brain and get ready for the next day when we're forming lots of synapses and learning. Nutrition, of course, everybody knows this one. Do we all do our our healthy eating every day? Not always, but making sure that we take like bio breaks throughout the day, with screen time being so heavy, planning ahead, doing some meal planning so that we have nutrition ready to hand. Very important. Exercise, not as easy right now with our COVID factors causing some of our group activity, our group exercise, and some of the places that we like to go for exercise being shut down. This is when we're getting creative, but just gentle movement, walking, hiking, those are still available to us. Making sure that that's nice for our fresh air for our breathing, and some vitamin D for us when we get outside as well. Making sure that we have enough vitamin D and light over the winter months, which helps us, those of us that are seasonally affected by the light, and using our breath, like the exercise before, grounding ourselves with some beautiful oxygen. And sometimes that's just going outdoors and seeing the natural world and letting all that beautiful imagery kind of cleanse and clear our brains, our left brains, our busy left brains, and also has a spiritual aspect to many of us being outdoors. So grounds us and makes us feel part of something that is bigger than ourselves. So students often feel like they just don't have time for much of these self-care activities, many of these self-care activities. So maybe think about just now what might be some areas that could use some love and attention and improvement in this area. What would really recharge your battery if you planned ahead and put some intention behind? What's maybe one small step that you could take to improve your health in the next week or so, to just a micro bit of progress? Maybe it's just drinking an extra glass of water every day, or maybe it's taking a noontime walk around the block. They sometimes don't need to take a lot of time, and sometimes it's as easy as, buying that healthy granola that you actually enjoy, remembering to put a few extra healthy things in your grocery basket. So maybe if you, again, feel ready to share, want to get creative with your collaborators here, you can put this, your idea in the chat box. I really enjoy a noonday dog walk, and it takes off one of the chores that I need to do. I like to hang out with my dog. He's a sweet, gentle kind of fella, and so it feels like I'm connecting with someone at the same time as we're both, playing with your dog too, Catherine. Yeah, and it gives me a break in the middle of my day when I kind of need it, and I need to stretch my legs and get some fresh air and whatnot. So that kind of covers a few bases. And I'm a mom, so I do a lot of meal planning and make sure like everything I need is here for the week, so that I'm not running out and getting a little stressed out just feeding everybody. So those are two things that I try to do. But I was thinking the other day, I need to step up my exercise a little bit. So I was looking at maybe one boot camp class that I could do outdoors with a group, and just one little improvement over the winter months I think might help me. Yeah, sometimes a 20-minute, we'd really love an hour, wouldn't we? Doesn't, when we like doing something. That's a great idea, noticing, picking up rocks, just getting really close to nature. I love doing that. I have a whole Instagram account of just my flowers. I take a picture of a flower almost every day and I post it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, just getting close to the things that we like. So I'm going to pass back to Gemma, and she's going to lead us in another grounding exercise.
Sure. Thanks, Frances. I always really like that last slide as you walk through it, and being sort of the participant, because usually I lead these workshops, and so it's nice to be the participant and just really reflect on, okay, am I doing those? So I think about the fundamentals, and if I'm not, what's one small thing? So I really appreciate all those little small things that you suggested. We might be able to just make a small tweak to maybe help start to build that resilience. And thank you for that. It was really great. I'm going to offer this again just as another exercise that you can take with you pretty much anywhere. And at different times as you're studying or as you're going through your work day or at different points in, throughout the day, whatever the day brings your way, sometimes we can find our anxiety or stress levels get a little bit heightened. We might feel overwhelmed and not sure which direction to go in, or sort of feel not grounded. And this is just really building on the belly breathing that Francis did this morning. And so I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll guide you through it just basically from where I'm sitting. And you hopefully will join along with me. But basically, we're going to do some belly breathing, and then we're going to do this noticing, which I know some of you have already mentioned in the chat box. This is part of your daily practice as you go out for walks. But what we're going to do today is, as we take a deep breath in, we're going to start to expand our gaze around the room or out the window, just to start to really notice something. And what we're noticing is, with each breath, we're just going to notice something that's green. So it just gives our brain a break from wherever it's focused and just start to expand our view, start to look beyond ourselves a little bit, and hopefully help us ground in the greater picture around us. So I invite you now, wherever you're sitting or standing, to maybe just start to get a little bit comfy in your chair. You want maybe put your feet flat on the floor. Maybe just wiggle your toes just to notice where they are. Just gently start to deepen your breath. Maybe put a hand on your belly if that feels comfortable for you. I invite you to maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze. Just start to notice your breath. This beautiful breath that is serving you so well day in, day out. And I invite you to slowly deepen your breath. Take a slightly deeper breath and feel your belly expand under your hand. And retract as you breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. As we breathe in together, glance around your room and notice something green and acknowledge it. I see a green book on my shelf. Breathe in, and I notice a bright green ornament that my daughter has in her room. And breathe out. Come on, baby, smile actually. And breathe in. I glance out my window and I see the green hedge that surrounds my property. Breathe out. Breathe in. I see my little green car that I've owned for a very long time. And breathe out. And I breathe in. I look all the way into the distance and there's a big, beautiful, I think it's a pine tree, my neighbor's yard. And breathe out. Take one more breath in. And breathe out. Now let's take the most biggest, most beautiful breath you've taken all day. Breathe in. And hold. And breathe out. Now as you just gently allow your breath to return to normal, let's just go to our next slide and do a little check-in with ourselves. And I invite you to take the pencil and acknowledge, after you've checked in with yourself, how are you feeling now? Does one of those faces represent how you're feeling, or is there another word that matches how you're feeling? Check in with your anxiety levels. Where are they at right now? On a scale of 1 to 5. And again, there's no right or wrong answers to any of this. It's just an acknowledgement of where you are at in this moment in time. An acknowledgement that hopefully we've been able to take you to a little bit of a calmer place, maybe brought you down half a notch or notch on the scale. And if that's the case, thank you so much for joining in and coming on this journey with us. And really, really hope that you take that feeling with you throughout the day. And if you feel yourself going back up the scale, that's okay too. Maybe just take a moment to take a couple of deep breaths or think of one of the things that we've talked about today and see if there's a way that you can do some small piece to help bring it back down again. It was wonderful, great. So we got some quiet people and some happy people. Oh, some people are all tired. Great, and some calm, some sense of calm. Wonderful, thank you. And finally, I want to just let you know how you can connect with us. So in the slide there's myself and Frances and Sarah, and we make up the counselling and learning strategy team at Royal Roads. Like Frances and I both said, we love our work and we love connecting with students. So if you're curious or think that we're curious about what we do or how we might be able to help support you on your learning journey, then don't be shy about reaching out to us. You can email us at counselling@royalroads.ca, or you can book an appointment with us straight from our website online. So just kind of Google Are You Counselling, and you'll find our calendar will come up there. Or you can phone and leave a message, but we don't usually pick up the phone just because we're generally in sessions with people, but we will phone you back within sort of 24 to 48 hours to schedule an appointment. And we're offering appointments on the phone or by Zoom at this time, and hopefully once campus opens up a bit more, we will be able to see students in person once the campus opens up a bit more and things are feeling a bit more safe and sane again. So don't be shy about reaching out for support if you feel like it would be helpful, and thank you so much for giving us this time, this precious time of yours to spend with us and focusing on resilience. We've got 4 more sessions coming up in the upcoming weeks at different times, so keep an eye out for those. And really hope you'll join in if it makes sense to. Thank you so much for joining in. Frances, did you have anything?
No, thank you. I felt like this was a beautiful hour, actually, early morning. Thanks so much, Gemma. That was really nice exercise to end on. And everybody is most welcome to, come and see us. And we can work on more things like this, more strategies like this. And hopefully we've given you something to think about this week to just make a little bit of progress with your stress levels. And a few little tools to help you through your day.
Great, thanks, Frances. And enjoy the rest of the day, everybody. And hopefully we'll connect if it makes sense to. Bye for now.
Bye. That was great, Gemma.
Yeah, thank you, Frances. You're so good at this.
That was really a calm, nice feeling to that session. So I feel good.
Good, me too. That was such a lovely engaged group of students. So it was really nice. Really nice to spend that time together. So yeah. Oh, that was a wonderful way to start my day. Thanks, Frances. It's always so lovely co-facilitating with you. I feel like it's a nice
pass back and forth. That was a nice one. I have to scamper off because I have a session now, so I will love you and leave you, and speak to you later on. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.
Bye.
Abigail, I'm not sure if you're there, but I'm just going to gently nudge you out of the session now. But thank you so much for joining us.